The cold open here is fairly simple. A crazy cyborg kills a bunch of policemen before a military unit kills him. There are a few things to point out though. Narratively, this provides useful setup while still leading somewhat fluidly into the first real scene of the show. Aesthetically, it shows us the quality of the animation, the art style, and its heavy emphasis on blood and gore. A less recognizable quality, though still the most impressive one, comes from its contributions to world building. Implants and cyberpsychosis are not hard to imagine. Implants have been a staple of sci-fi, especially cyberpunk, since forever, but it still helps to understand the show's approach to this technology. Specific implants activate on demand and lead to short bursts of enhanced movement, signaled by an X-ray of the human body. Cyberpsychosis is a little more abstract, however it can still be interpreted with a connection to madness, a very identifiable trait in fiction. It also sets itself apart from other depictions by being a sort of mix between screen and drug addiction. After this intro, we are met with the main character, David. He is introduced as most protagonists are, son of a single mother living in the lower middle class. Despite this, he goes to a high-ranking school for which he cannot afford the required update to a brain chip. The brain chips are never elaborated on too well, but from the few instances where they are shown, we can deduce that they operate similarly to data storing hardware. They plug in directly into the body, showing that every single person in Night City, even those without major implants, has been infected with this technology in some way. When we first meet him, David is using futuristic VR goggles to pretend to be a cyberpsycho, seemingly the one we saw in the cold open. This, and the smirk at a corpse on the way to school, foreshadows his morbid curiosity of cyberpsychosis and cyberpunks as a whole. When talking to his mother, he mentions buying the aforementioned brain chip upgrade from Ripperdoc, a black market drug and implant salesman. His mother is tired, having worked the night shift, and is strangely content with the fact that she forgot to pay the water bill. At school, David's brain chip malfunctions, and when his mom picks him up, we learn more about them. She talks about David's future, about how despite the position he was born into, he is on path to rise to or at least near the top of Arasaka. Speaking of Arasaka, it is not only Night City's most powerful corporation, but also its most influential entity, more so than even the government, most likely. As we see throughout the show and the game, they control the implant markets, the schools, the weapons trade, and just about everything else. When their car crashes, as it inevitably does, David is forced to watch as his mom lies lifeless on the road and the trauma team, the emergency rescue group we saw helping in a burning building, now walks up to them, realizes that they aren't customers, and leaves. The cross on David's necklace can easily be seen in this shot, inviting the idea that the system the city operates under is almost a religion, an absolute and undeniable truth. No matter how dysfunctional and unfair it seems, it cannot be fought. This is what I believe to be the core of the cyberpunk genre, more important than even the neon lights or the futuristic technology. This different and futuristic kind of social hierarchy, the corporate monopoly, in practice doesn't operate much differently than a normal government or monarchy. The only real difference is in how it's perceived, which actually reminds me of the show's soundtrack. On the way to school, as well as on the way back from the hospital, the track playing is Who's Ready for Tomorrow by Ratboy, written specifically for the video game. It's short, and the few lyrics we do get emphasize how normal this oppressive and corrupt system feels to the everyman. David's mom works as a rescue worker, not to the trauma team, but as some other, probably government-funded agency. She was one of the people that cleaned up after the cyberpsycho from the cold open, and now we get to see why she chose that job. She stole his implant and was planning to sell it on the black market. Lacking money himself, David offers to sell the implant to Ripperdoc. Doc tells him it's a Sandviston, military grade and very dangerous, but he still only offers to buy it at a tiny price. Ripperdoc himself is a subversion by the nature of his name. In any other story, the character by the name of Doc would be a crazy but wholesome mentor, while here he's a total scumbag who doesn't give a single shit about his customers' well-being at all.
普通のじゃ聞かねえからな、ちっと高いぜ。金はあんのか。金取るのか。そりゃ当然だろう。サービスは手術代までだ。
When David goes to school the next day, a rich kid bullies him with an implant of his own, and once again we get to see one of these in use. It enforces the process of an X-ray into super speed, but the differences are still apparent. Where the Sandy makes its user enter an almost ethereal state, gliding rather than walking, Katsuo's implant makes him punch with inhuman speed. After getting beaten up and being told to never come to school again, he gets a call from the hospital, where we hear that his mom didn't make it. Throughout the next few scenes, he doesn't express feelings of anger or of revenge, but rather that of complete contempt of himself. He goes to pick up her ashes from something that looks almost by design similar to a trash chute. A cool detail here is not only the fact that the chute exists, but that there are multiple. This implies that deaths here are so frequent, the architects here felt it was genuinely important to make collecting the ashes of relatives more efficient. The song playing here doubles as the outro and the title of this episode, Let You Down by David Podsadło. This song is sober, but still bizarrely upbeat. In the music video for it, we see a character that isn't in the show, as she abandons her mission and chance of escape only to expose a corrupt medical company. It enforces the idea that the song is that of a dying rebel, no longer caring about their own life, but only in dealing as much damage as they still can. The pilot episode then ends with that song playing as David, now alone in a dark apartment, thinks about the fact that his life is over. His only family is dead, he has no money, no friends, no nothing. And so then, there's only one thing he can think to do.
いや、売らない。こいつを俺にインストールしてくれ。